let's see. Perhaps we chat a little bit with Trainer as well.
Commander, come to check on your new recruit.
Just wanted to see how you were doing.
Still trying to get my bearings. When I was working on the Normandy's upgrades, I left at the end of the day. I didn't even have a toothbrush or a change of clothing until I made some emergency purchases on the Citadel.
Okay, well, I mean, I suppose we could have helped.
Next time you need something, just ask. We're all in this together.
Oh, it's no trouble, Commander. I'm sure you have larger concerns.
We can put in a requisition order.
My toothbrush is a Cision Pro Mark IV. It uses tiny Mass Effect fields to break up plaque and massage the gums. It costs 6,000 credits.
Okay, yeah. You're on your own with that.
In any event,
Yeah, you got a 6,000 credit toothbrush. We'll pass on that.
Was there anything else?
What about... I guess let's learn more about you. So you are the newest recruit to the team. So tell us about you.
Where are you from originally?
A colony in the Terminus systems, actually. Though I studied on Earth, at Oxford. My parents were from London. They loved Earth, but they wanted the freedom a colony life could offer. If they stayed in London, I imagine they'd be dead right now.
Let's not talk like that.
A lot of people back on Earth are still alive, and counting on us.
Quite true, Commander.
Okay, what else can we ask you about, though? Like, at least before / kinda sorta for this job, you were working in a lab?
You worked in Alliance R&D?
Yes, you'd think quantum entanglement would make communication easy, but imagine incorporating multiple incoming sources and then networking them with extrapolations of time-lag data to construct a coherent situation GUI. It's an exciting challenge. For me, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, you do that. So, how exactly did you join the military then?
How'd you end up in the military anyway?
My family didn't have money for university. When the Alliance saw my aptitude scores, they offered me a full scholarship. I served my required years
Good
after
stuff.
graduation and decided to stay. I really like the challenges of the lab. Although, I'm sure I'll grow to love frontline service as well.
Alright, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's not an Inquisition. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. But, how have you been doing with regard to the war?
I'm surprised you're worrying about a toothbrush. We've got bigger problems right now.
Oh, believe me, seeing the Reapers on Earth was terrifying. But I won't help anybody by bursting into tears here in the CIC, will I? Being here on the Normandy helps.
True.
If anyone in the galaxy can stop the Reapers, it's you. And if flagging your messages and managing strategic intel helps you in any way, then it's worth it.
Alright, I mean, happy to have you in that case. Sounds like that's all we can ask you about.
Carry on, Specialist.
Okay, excuse me, sir. Extremely rude. Alright, before we do anything else, let's just poke around a little bit more over here, because at least in this area, we usually have Joker, our pilot.
Hey, Commander. You know, I had my doubts about the Council. But after years of ignoring your warnings, they're finally willing to step up and tell you they just can't help.
I mean, it's not really their fault. Everyone is getting attacked by the Reapers, including the species of the Counselors and their home planets in some cases as well.
They're doing everything they can.
Did they at least validate our parking? Well, let me know if you want me to get them on the channel and then hang up on them. You know, for old time's sake.
I forget, did we actually do that in any of the previous encounters? You have that option. I don't remember. In Mass Effect 1 in particular, you can do it all the time to them. We might have done it once just for the fun of it, but we might not have, though, in which case that might be coming out of nowhere.
Commander?
Okay, seems like that's all from Joker for now. So let's take a little more of a look around here, I think. This is the CIC, and we checked, or we came in through that room over there, but if we head back to the elevator, so we have the cabin, which we were technically in briefly there for that discussion with Liara, and then briefly Trainer as well. We could head back up. I suppose we'll head back up there briefly just to actually look around here a bit. So our fish tank, which is currently empty, but maybe we'll choose to put things there. We have another place where we can access our terminal to check our emails. Then we have an armor locker. So this is a place where we can mess around a bit with our armor, and as I was saying before, the armors basically all add up to 50% bonuses of some variety. It is just a matter of what type of bonuses you want, because as you see here, you can go health, shields, shield regeneration, ammo capacity, power damage, power recharge, weapon damage, headshot damage, melee damage, whole bunch of stuff. Depending on what type of build you're looking for, you might prioritize one of those things over other things. Like for us, weapon damage, not the most relevant. I mean, obviously, we'll take more weapon damage when we can get it, but we're primarily a power-based build. So, other thing we can do, actually, is we can further increase our health if we go with one of our helmets here, rather than going helmetless. I'm not a huge fan of the N7 breather helmet, just because it's so hard to see Shepard's face in this case, but if we go with the base N7 helmet, you can still see pretty much the full face, and you get the additional health bonus from that, so that looks good to me. Then we see our other options for chest plate. We have one, we can go reduce the health boost, but increase the shield regeneration, which is potentially somewhat interesting, just because, as I think I was commenting on at least once, I think it was probably on Mars, we saw that when we did take damage to our shields, specifically barriers, but you know what I mean. When it starts to regenerate, it goes so slowly. It is painful. So that means we have a long period of time in which we are just hunkering down, waiting for us to get back to a point where we are capable of taking another hit. So limiting the amount of time that we need to stay in cover means more time we can actually be shooting or shooting powers at our opponents, so shield regeneration might not be a terrible idea there. Then for shoulders, we don't really have any alternatives. For the arms, we have a melee damage option. That is definitely not of interest to us, though. Legs, we only have one. And then for material, this just changes the aesthetics of it. For the most part, this is sort of like the amount of shininess to it, and kind of at the front end here, it is very glossy, almost a lighter look altogether, and then darker if we go that side. I think I actually prefer that. Then we can mess around a bit with the patterns, and I'm not the biggest fan of those, unless maybe we switch around the pattern color if we really wanted to. There is some room for creativity here, like you want to go make it white, potentially do that. Maybe that works, and then you can... The tint actually is pretty significant, as you can see here. Like, you can fundamentally change the coloration of Shepard's setup if you would like to do so. It's an option. Like, you could go totally reverse color scheme. Go with the light base armor and then the dark accents if you really wanted to. Like, I don't know, with that. I do kind of like going with a relatively classic approach, though. To me, that just feels the most like Shepard. So, to each their own, totally up to you, of course. In this case, it is purely for aesthetic purposes. There's no gameplay implications to what we have here, although might go for a little bit of red complements here or there. That is kind of part of our color scheme, right? And then the lights... Oh, hold on. That's not what I wanted. I wanted that. Then for the lights, those are in the back. Thing is, those red lights don't really match the darker red that we just put on. So perhaps we make those white, which is another sort of red, black, and white are the colors that Shepard tends to rock. So maybe we go with that. Now we can turn on the sound system, although in the past, whenever we do that and activate music in the background, there's always some song that just gets really dramatic at some points when we least expect it, and we'll be in a menu somewhere, and then we'll close out of it, and then right as soon as we do that, we get blasted with this intense music, like, whoa, I did not ask for that. But anyways, so that's the cabin, captain's cabin. We were in the CIC before that. Then we also have the crew deck, and I suppose it can, so a little bit of description here. Shepard's personal cabin, CIC, war room, and the bridge. Then for the crew deck, we have the crew quarters, mess hall, lounge, medical, AI core, main battery, observation deck, and life support. Tons of things here in the crew deck. Let's check that out. Including this little wall here where we write down the names of the people who, well, they served with us, but they did not make it out. You may recognize at least a name or two there. One over on the left side, Caden, of course, from Mass Effect 1, and Richard L. Jenkins is, well, Jenkins from Mass Effect 1, who was the first person to die in Mass Effect. And for what it's worth, the middle initial there, L, I think is an Easter egg to, well, Leroy Jenkins. Because that may or may not have been exactly what happened to Jenkins in Mass Effect, but, you know. Rip. So this looks like life support, the place where, once upon a time, Mass Effect 2, Thane was hanging out. Very similar layout, but no one and nothing of interest in there right now. This is the place where Kasumi once was. And it is interesting to see how there are definitely a lot of similarities with the appearance, although this table was not here before. Obviously, it is currently Kasumi-less. Then, still restrooms here. They're a little bit bigger than in Mass Effect 2, I think. Crew quarters. Place where some people are hanging out. Not the most social of squad mates, though. This is interesting, okay. In Mass Effect 2, you are allowed to go into the female restroom, and EDI kind of makes a comment on it. This time, they just don't even let you go in. This is where we had Samara previously. It looks very similar, but of course, no Samara. And if we head into this sort of main area here, we have the lounge of sorts. Then we have medical over here. No Dr. Chakwas. We heard a bit about Dr. Michelle. Oh, we can reassign powers here as well. It is... Oh. Really? It's free. Thought that was, I think, maybe just the first time you use it, it's free. But after that, I have to imagine it costs a bit. But we saw this in Mass Effect 2, of course, it's an option. It costs you a whole lot of EZO in that case there, but the question here is just credits in Mass Effect 3. This looks like the body of the mech that attacked us. So Dr. Eva Corey, in case it wasn't clear at the end of the Mars mission, because it all happened very fast, as it turns out, was actually a robot the entire time. And perhaps that explains how she quite quickly and efficiently murdered many of the people, the scientists, on that Mars base. And, well, she then, after James crashed a shuttle into her shuttle, she came out from her shuttle and the wreckage there, and her disguise was pretty much destroyed, and so then we could see very clearly that she was, in truth, a robot, and that was when she, well, charged and smashed Ashley's head into the wall 3 times, that's why she's in the hospital, and tried to make a dash for us to do the same thing to us, but fortunately we were ready to shoot her and take her out before she could do us any harm. So let's see. Anything else of interest here? This is where Garrus once was. Through here. But, I mean, well, we are, of course, at the moment, running a pretty small squad. We still need to assemble the troops if we're trying to get squad mates here. Speaking of squad mates, this is where Liara has set up shop.
Commander Shepard, it's a pleasure to see you again.
You're the drone from the Shadow Broker's ship.
Dr. Tassoni now refers to me as Glyph instead of Info Drone 95% of the time. If you have a moment, I'd like to draw your attention to a terminal in her office.
Okay.
It analyzes information packages. If you find any useful data, I can research upgrades for you.
And what should I be looking for?
I'll inform you if you found relevant data. When you do, return to this terminal for your choices. In the meantime, Dr. Tassoni would like to speak with you. Have a pleasant day.
Thank you, Glyph.
You know, I was hoping this new council would be a little more helpful than the last one.
The meeting was less than ideal.
I'm shocked.
At least the council can't deny the Reapers exist. But I'm not sure how much comfort that is while they bicker over which portion of the galaxy to save.
Wow. Becoming the big info brokers turned you into a real cynic, Liara. I like it.
I'm flattered, I think.
Alright, well, let's take a quick look at this intel terminal before we chat with Liara to see what Glyph was talking about. So we have an armor mod kit. Farron, who was Liara's accomplice is maybe a strong word, but associate, when we were doing Lair the Shadow Broker, has persuaded his contacts to ship an armor mod kit to the Normandy. Technically illegal in Citadel space, the kit's Omnigel converter and manufacturing fabricator can make a one-time modification to Shepard's armor, improving shield strength or adding thermal clip compartments. I mean, a one-time upgrade to improve shield strength sounds good to me. Sure? So we can either increase ammo capacity, that looks like a familiar face over there, that's gotta be Tally, or we can get 5% increased shields. I mean, let's, I suppose, take 5% increased shields, as I was saying before. The ammo / weapon stuff, I mean, we certainly are still going to need to use it. There's a long period of time there on the Mars mission in which we did not use our weapon at all. I mostly did that as a meme, but there are going to be situations in which, as we started to see when we were facing against the Centurions, who have shields, and therefore we can't use many of our biotic abilities on them until those shields go down, we're gonna want to try to specialize our weapons to get rid of the layers of defenses that stop us from using our powers, and that way the weapon is largely a setup for our more important biotics, rather than a primary source of damage. So the ammo capacity, not as important as just staying alive. So I think we'll BG's this one. Then, okay, collectively we see 5% shields damage upgrade, sure. So that looks good to me. And I didn't see, it said purchase, but it didn't cost us any monies because we were at 31,000 credits and we still are at 31,000 credits, so that's good. So yeah, why don't we talk to Liara now?
Looks like you brought more than just that drone from your ship.
A few things were necessary. I'd be a very silent shadow broker without data feeds.
So you have access to your resources?
What I can get. We'll need it to research this Prothean device. Until we understand precisely what it does, it's far too dangerous to use.
Yeah, see, that's the thought that I was having, was that we seemed awfully quick to jump on the, oh, all hail this Prothean technology, it'll save us from the Reapers train. And, seemed perhaps like we ought to proceed with a little bit more cautious optimism, and not necessarily just assume that this thing will be the Reaper panacea. So, I mean, did the Protheans even finish this thing?
Did the Protheans actually complete this weapon?
You mean, will it work? They wouldn't have poured their last resources into this device if they thought otherwise. But we really need to find out just what kind of weapon they left us.
True, true.
It'd be nice to know we're not kids playing around with a loaded gun.
Absolutely. The damage it could cause if it backfired is unthinkable. People were finally starting to listen before the Reapers came. If we'd had a little more time, maybe Earth wouldn't. I'm sorry. I understand if you don't want to talk about it.
I mean, I appreciate your concern.
The thought means a lot, Liara. Thanks.
You're welcome. And since I didn't mention it before, it's good to be back, Shepard.
Good to have you back, Liara. Little bit of reputation there. I mean, we could see if we can chat with her again.
Hello again, Shepard.
Let's see, so what's new in the 30 seconds we haven't talked to you?
What have you been up to since we last saw each other?
Since you helped me defeat the Shadow Broker, I started looking for defenses against the Reapers. The Protheans were the only ones with substantial information on them. The older civilizations barely had records. I knew the elusive man was hunting for the same thing when our agents began crossing paths.
Like on Mars?
I thought I'd covered my tracks, but he had surveillance there all along.
That elusive man. Okay, so... well, how's it going being the Shadow Broker? Because, well, I mean, at this point we've heard it a few times, of course, Mass Effect 2 spoilers here, but you've been forewarned.
What's been happening with you as the broker, Liara?
It's been exciting. The old broker's ship, impressive, but it was never meant to be space-worthy. Which meant the elusive man eventually tracked me down on Hagalaz.
Oh, wow.
What happened?
I knew he was coming. Farron and I loaded as much of the ship's specialized hardware onto a shuttle as we could. We got away from Cerberus' ships after arranging an appropriate distraction.
Appropriate distraction, you say? Alright, then how exactly did you get away?
What kind of distraction?
Sending the broker's ship exploding into a Cerberus cruiser. I don't think the elusive man expected me to give up my resources in such a spectacular fashion.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have either, to be fair. But, you know, maybe we drop that subject. What about... I mean, Glyph here seems to be still hanging out with you.
You brought your little helper with you?
Its name is Glyph. It helped sort through all the data that led me to the archive on Mars.
It was a pleasure to be of assistance, Doctor.
Glyph's interfaced with the data feeds. Its analytical software should come in handy.
Okay, sure. What about the Prothean device itself? Any more information on that?
How much do you know about this Prothean artifact?
Very little. We're fortunate enough data survived to piece together the blueprints. Decoding them will require as many specialists as we can find.
It's that high-tech?
I'd have killed for a glimpse of it during graduate school.
I suppose that's one way to phrase that. Okay, I think that's everything here with Liara.
We'll talk later, Liara.
Of course.
Okay, let's check out this broker terminal, though.
This terminal contains non-essential correspondence from your allied forces. Dr. Tassoni has granted you access.
Okay, non-essential, you say? Glyph, remind me to clean up these old notes. Perhaps reviewing them will lead to something useful for the Prothean device. Liara. 2171, which is basically 10 years, I think, before Mass Effect 1. The University of Ceres agreed to sponsor me at the Prothean dig site on Dretrop. Not the place where we found Liara initially. That was Therum. Very exciting. Professor Hennel is heading the expedition herself. Maybe I can even ask her for her opinion on my thesis outline. Attachment. Thesis on Prothean First Contact Protocols. Okay, so Liara, of course, was a Prothean scientist before we recruited her as a member of our team. That's, in fact, what was initially of interest, of why we pursued her. Then, a few years later, I believe Dr. Joshon was right to suggest that the Prothean artifacts were unearthed, or that we unearthed, are from the Third Age, not the Fourth. What an embarrassing mistake. At least he seemed to approve the rest of the paper. Attachment. Paper on a comparison of the Prothean technology to modern Asari circuit logic. Then 2183, which is... I think Mass Effect 1 is 2181, and Mass Effect 2 might be 2183. I'm going on the... oh no, okay, I take it back. Mass Effect 1 is 2183. Because, as you can see here, I'm going on the Therum expedition, which is the place where we encountered her. I never thought I'd gain permission to visit the Prothean ruins there, but the University of Ceres must have secured the funding after all. Now to pack. Attachment. Paper on the end of the Prothean Empire. Then 2183, Part 2. Goddess. This human, Shepard, has the key to comprehending the Protheans on an instinctual, subconscious level. If only I could have been there when the commander touched the beacon on Eden Prime. I'll try to learn more about this cipher on board the Normandy. The involvement of the Reapers is troubling, to say the least. Attachment. Paper on the end of the Prothean Empire with correction notes. Then 2185, now that's Mass Effect 2. I reviewed the old Shadowbroker's footage of the Collectors. It's chilling to know that they're the Protheans' husks. At least nothing sentient could possibly remain after what the Reapers did to them. Attachment. Paper on Prothean biology. Okay, so, as we heard from Cliff, non-essential stuff, but interesting nonetheless. Message from Operative Farron to the broker. Again, this being Liara's accomplice of sorts, her associate. So, I made contact with Tazik yesterday. The look on his face was priceless. He's not happy you put me in charge of scouting the terminus systems, but he's doing a good job of keeping us alive. I've never seen so many pirates and mercs on edge. The black market's unreliable, and it's getting harder to make contact with suppliers. The Alliance won't be able to rely on it as a source of crucible materials for long if things get worse. Some of the other operatives think we should cut our losses now, but I just keep asking them, when did the odds ever stop the broker? Theron. P.S. I hope you finally got our little friend Droney to stop saying shadow and broker out loud in the same sentence to anyone in sight. Welcome to the Shadow Broker space. Excuse me, what did you say? Let me please introduce you to the Shadow Broker. No! That stuff's secret. Alright, fair enough. That is all from that. Anything else over here? It's like just living space for Liara in addition to her bazillion monitors. What is it? Whoa. Excuse me? They changed direction. Here I was trying to count them. 1, 2, 3 by 1. No, I'm not going to count them. But it's a lot. It's a lot. We can say that much with relative safety.
Please enjoy your day.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you. Okay. So, in that case, I believe that's basically everything on this floor. Then we still have engineering, we still have Shuttle Bay, so the Normandy, as has been the case in between basically every Mass Effect game, it's gotten bigger this time around. With, how many floors? Did it have 4 floors in Mass Effect 2? Now it has 5? Alright, so to engineering we go. This is, of course, a place we did have in Mass Effect 2, and here is Diana Allers, the reporter that we brought in here. The person who, well, we met on the Citadel, and this, I believe, was Zaid's spot previously. So maybe we can have a quick chat. That is a little bit creepy, this storyboard you have set up here.
How's your new assignment working out, Allers?
Fairly normal, except for the unshackled AI, Matriarch Benezia's daughter, and the communicator that can reach Earth. The first 2, I can deal with. That last one gets my attention.
Oh.
So what are you asking for exactly?
Anything from Earth is the lead story right now. That's not opinion, it's fact.
Maybe I can pass on a few non-classified progress updates.
Seriously? You just doubled my ratings. I don't need FaceTime, just a data upload.
Alright, well, I mean, if it means we get more support for the war efforts, then it's worth it.
Tell people what's really happening on Earth. We need long recruiting lines on every planet after you air a story.
I can do this, Commander. Remind me to tell you about the time I made an Elcor cry.
Please don't. But also we get some Paragon and reputation points, so that's good. So we got living areas over here. Otherwise, looks like lots of lighting, to set up, what, photo shoots and what have you. Alright, so that's Diana. Then, other than that, did we check this side here? Well, this side we don't have access to, apparently. This was where Grunt was in Mass Effect 2. Then downstairs, over here is where Jack was. But no Jack here, except there is... What? A hamster. That we missed. Get back here. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Come back. Maybe on another occasion. Maybe on another occasion. It's quick. It's quick. We missed it. But as you may remember, we did... Oh, there it is! Ah! It's so fast! You gotta cut it off. And then we have the model Shadow Broker. The ship, which basically was an optional thing you could do in Mass Effect 2, was purchase these model ships that you could put up in your commander's cabin. And we didn't really spend much money on that stuff. We found a few random ones strewn about, and then when it comes to Mass Effect 3, basically any of those model ships that you had will get randomly strewn about the ship, kind of like this, and then we totally had you there. Totally had you. Excuse me. There we go. Got the space hamster. Speaking of things that will go up to the cabin, that is another one. But yeah, so if you have a bunch of model ships that you picked up in Mass Effect 2, then they'll be strewn about in places across the ship in Mass Effect 3, and once you find them, then they can go back up to your cabin. Then Engineer Adams, back from Mass Effect 1.
Commander, welcome back to the Normandy. Or maybe you should be saying that to me.
Engineer Adams, what are you doing here?
I was put in charge of the drive core retrofits. My experience on the Normandy SR-1 made me an obvious choice.
So, what do you think of our SR-2?
She's incredible. If there's one nice thing I can say about Cerberus, it's that they know how to build a ship. And about that, Cerberus, I owe you an apology.
How so?
Back when you got this ship, Dr. Chalk was contacting me.
Also, I've disappeared,
help with your
apparently.
mission against the Collectors. I refused. I didn't have your back, and I'm sorry for that.
Not gonna lie, I got a little bit distracted there, where it really looked like you just wiped yourself from this plane of existence. But, why did you refuse this offer? Something having to do with Collectors?
Why didn't you join us?
I saw what happened to you when the Normandy went down. I didn't trust that it was really you, and I certainly didn't trust Cerberus. Also, as an officer of the Alliance, I don't just leave my post, you know?
Alright, well, no need for an apology.
Your Alliance first. That's the way it should be.
Thank you, Commander. Glad to be aboard.
Alright, anything else we can ask you about? Like, speaking of technology on this Cerberus ship, what are your thoughts on Edie, and do you know he's not a VI?
What do you think of Edie?
We had a good talk during the retrofit. A little strange at first, talking shop with an AI.
Okay, he knows.
I thought Edie posed as a VI to keep the likes of you from unplugging her.
Yeah, but I saw through her. Have you seen her hardware? Processing power is off the charts. And then there were the problems that kept fixing themselves. If I hadn't had her pegged, I would have sworn I was losing it.
You never expressed any skepticism, Lieutenant Adams.
I figured I'd better play it safe with the Cerberus AI, Edie. No offense.
Not taken. As long as you keep your fingers out of my cognizance processors.
Oh.
In the beginning, I tried disconnecting her from key processes without giving myself away. Easier said than done. But Joker seemed to trust her, and in time I saw her advantages. Even grew to like her.
Alright, so interesting perspective. Because again, of course, AI are technically illegal, and very powerful, and as the lead engineer on the ship, you'd think he'd have a pretty strong opinion on that topic. So let's see, other thoughts on the Normandy in general?
Does the new Normandy stack up to the old SR-1?
Stack up. It blows the old ship away. The Tantalus drive core has been completely overhauled. The SR-2 might be nearly twice the size, but the new drive core is 3 times bigger. This ship can fly. That said, Cerberus isn't too high on safety. If pushed past her limits, this core would vent into engineering. Guess it gives my team incentive to keep her well balanced during a firefight.
Do your job or get vaporized.
Guess that's an
Pretty much.
incentive.
I noticed you upgraded the kinetic barriers with cyclonic technology. Should help reduce the draw when under missile fire.
Hopefully that means fewer vaporized engineers.
The IES stealth system is significantly improved. It can handle a higher blue shift of our emissions.
And that means...
We should be able to drop out of FTL without triggering every sensor in range. Very handy for stealth reconnaissance. All in all, the Normandy is a marvel of engineering.
That's our ship. She's one of a kind. Speaking of one of a kind, how's your family doing? I kinda hope they're not back on Earth.
Is your family okay?
My parents are serving on Viridian Zenith, an Alliance agricultural vessel. My sister is a navigator on the SSV Benjamin Davis. Happy to report that both vessels are safely under Hackett's command.
Okay, great. Great. So they're doing fine.
Carry
Love to
on,
hear it.
Adams.
Aye, aye, sir.
Alright, so that's Engineer Adams. Get a little bit of reputation from chatting with him. Anything else in here? We can take a look at that huge drive core, which is, yep. That's the thing powering this here ship. But that looks like that may be all in here for now. So, in that case, let us now check out the Shuttle Bay, which didn't really exist in Mass Effect 2. It kind of sort of existed bottom floor of Mass Effect 1. Because as you see here, it might remind you a bit of the layout of the bottom floor of the Normandy in Mass Effect 1. So if we look around a bit, we'll see we have what appears to be some kind of weapons bench. We have another armor locker, much like what we were seeing in the commander's cabin. Then Lieutenant Cortez, who we have not yet met.
Lieutenant Steve Cortez, shuttle pilot. Got news about our supply chains, Commander.
At ease.
Nice to meet you, Lieutenant. What's going on?
Sorry to just jump in, Commander. There's so much to be done, I get caught up in the tasks at hand.
He's always like that. You need to chill out, Esteban.
So you do care, Mr. Vega? Or is that the Cerveza talking again?
So what's happening with our supply chains, Lieutenant?
Alliance procurement chains are in chaos, but the Citadel's economy is still running. I can network to Citadel retailers. You can view inventory and make purchases right from this console.
When I network to a new store, I'll let you know.
It does cost more to coordinate delivery to the Normandy, so it's cheaper to buy supplies when you're there.
So you're my shuttle pilot, but you're setting up procurement chains?
I wasn't assigned as Normandy's pilot. Not much need for one on a dry dock ship. I was overseeing the retrofit of the cargo hold. I'm quite familiar with the operation and maintenance of the UT-47 Kodiak and the M44 Hammerhead. In my experience, it made sense for me to take over as shuttle pilot when we left Earth. Especially given Mr. Vega's love of mid-air collisions.
To save the day, pendejo.
I'm also responsible for logistics, making sure the armory and shuttle are properly stocked and maintained.
Okay, so this guy is basically his job, at least was, to refurbish this floor of the ship, and then now the ship has been completely completed, and we are back on the move. He is perhaps going to replace what James was doing at the end of the Mars mission, driving those shuttles, and in James's case, you know, possibly crashing said shuttle into our enemy's shuttle, which might be something we'd like to avoid whenever possible. So let's see. Tell us more about, I suppose, let's start with your service record.
How long have you been with the Alliance?
About 10 years. I enlisted in First Fleet serving on the SSV Hawking, flying F-61 Tridents mostly. I love the Trident. It practically dances in low atmo. I spent as much time tinkering on my bird as flying her. Got a bit of a reputation.
So, you can fly fighters and fix them.
Yeah, and I got a knack for procurement too. They were grooming me for CAG, but my skill set made me more valuable commanding a flight deck. They assigned me to the Normandy retrofit team about 5 months ago to oversee all cargo bay modifications.
Okay. And you can see what appears to be that pet dog we were hearing about, occasionally wandering in the background there. we'll see if we can check that out in a little bit. Let's see, so then, other than that, can you talk a bit about the shuttle itself?
The Kodiak seems a bit different.
Good eyes, Commander. This is the UT-47A Kodiak. It's got an upgraded ESO core and prototype stealth technology based on the Normandy design. For quick drops, I can get you in and out virtually undetected. She flies like a brick, so that's why you need a good pilot.
Okay, you know. Good to know. That we have an expert behind the wheel, in that case. Or whatever the shuttle equivalent is. Then, okay, so you said not only are you in charge of the shuttle, but you also set up things like the armory around here. Well, maybe let's talk ground vehicles first, while we're on the topic of vehicles and what have you.
What happened to the M44 Hammerhead?
It was sent to the tech labs for a retrofit. To afford mobility with such a small ESO core, its design sacrificed armor plating. The lab engineers are trying to improve that. After the Reaper invasion, those labs are probably just a pile of rubble.
Oh. So, of course, we had the Mako in Mass Effect 1, which was big, armored vehicle that we drove around in that was capable of taking quite a few hits and had a big cannon strapped to its back, but was not the best in the way of mobility. Then Mass Effect 2, no Mako, but we did have the Hammerhead, which was comparatively much quicker, much more mobile, and had still decent firepower, but could not take very many hits, and so understandable that they would try to upgrade it further and strike more of a balance, find a way to make it stronger defensively, but maybe not if the workshop is in a pile of rubble. So then, yeah, like I was saying, you're also in charge of prepping this armory here, so tell us a bit about that.
Do you maintain this armory?
I share that duty with our illustrious Mr. Vega. Though I believe the only weapon he really cares to maintain is himself.
You know you love the show, Esteban.
The first retrofit we did was to move the armory down from Deck 2. I'm not sure what Cerberus engineers were thinking. Now you get off the elevator, pick your gear, and head right into the shuttle.
Just like the original Normandy.
Welcome back to the Alliance, Commander.
Okay. Then, I suppose, we'll finish things off on a more personal note with your family.
You were stationed on Earth. Do you have family there?
I'm an only child. Lost my parents years ago. I had a husband back when I was stationed at Ferris Fields. The Collectors took out the whole colony. I'd rather not talk about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Keep up the hard work, but don't kill yourself.
Yes, Commander.
Okay, so that's Cortez. We get a few Paragon points as well. There's the armor locker. There's also the Procurement Interface, which, as he was saying, is a place where we can purchase items. At the moment, we know about Serta, but we're getting what I think is basically a 10% markup here. I think all these things cost us 1,000 directly on the Citadel, as Cortez was saying, because of the... Yeah, and it even says just 10% markup fee. There's, the more complications, logistically, with shipping the stuff to the Normandy, basically, in order to get it here, so that's why it costs a little bit more. It is convenient, but especially for big things, we definitely want to make a point of buying them on site, because if we're talking about something that costs, you know, 275,000 credits, then, you know, we're saving 25,000 credits by purchasing it on site, and that would, you know, be the difference between being able to afford several other things in addition. So that'd be kind of nice to save monies there. But there's also, Asa fabrication, which I don't remember seeing on the Citadel, at least not on our initial visit there. But there are some other options here, including the Indra, which is a new weapon. It is, I believe, what is it? Technically a sniper rifle that low-powered scope leaves effective at medium range, but many soldiers believe this limitation is offset by the gun's rapid rate of fire. I think it's it's either a rapid-fire sniper rifle or it is a sniper-ish assault rifle. The Indra is the first military-grade, fully automatic sniper rifle. There you go. It has an extremely efficient heat-seek system that is allowing a surprisingly large number of shots to be fired before the weapon ejects its thermal clip. So, a little bit of a hybrid between snipers and assault rifles. Probably not something we'll be looking to carry ourselves, because generally, snipers and assault rifles are going to be on the heavier side, and that's not what we're looking to do. But potentially for teammates who can use sniper rifles, like Ashley, although, well, Ashley is still recovering in a hospital bed right now. But then we also have other upgrades like pistol magazine size, pistol melee stunner for melee damage, piercing mod for firing through cover, which, yes, is a thing. We can, in fact, either shoot through walls if you have enough penetration here, or in other cases, light cover, which with 0.5 meters is probably more so what you're looking at, but it also reduces the effectiveness of enemies' defenses from armor, which we haven't really seen any armored enemies yet, but can be quite helpful for big, powerful enemies that usually are quite difficult to take down. So that is definitely going to be a nice upgrade we might consider for the future. Assault rifle stability, assault rifle magazine upgrade, the sniper rifle spare clip, the shotgun spare thermal clip, and then we cannot currently afford the Inferno armor, but that gives actually 60% total in terms of bonuses here. It's a combination of power recharge speed as the game tabs out. Hold on. Power recharge speed and power damage, and those are actually two really useful things for us, of course, but with us being a power-based build, so you could consider going that route in the future, but again, we can't afford it at the moment, and it's expensive enough. We definitely want to make a point of purchasing it on the actual store on the Citadel. Then we have a scale model, the Alliance Kodiak shuttle, which we've seen a few of already, and it's the shuttle that Cortez was talking about, but no, we'll pass on that for now. So that's more stuff that is potentially of interest to us, as well as weapon upgrades. So what we can do here is we can upgrade the base weapon, like the pistol, the shuriken, the Avenger. So you'll notice when we pick them up, it said Predator 1, or Shuriken 1, Avenger 1. So by purchasing the upgrades here, we can improve the weapon overall. Now, an individual upgrade is not that much of a difference maker, but it does... there are several rounds of upgrades we can do, so upgrade number 2 is just one of several subsequent upgrades that we could start to do. And so at this point, we also just don't have a ton of weapons, so not a lot of choices there. You can kind of get a sense of which weapons are generally considered better based on the price of upgrading them, although that might have more to do with the type of weapon. Yeah, it looks like it's more like pistols and SMGs might always be 1,000. I think that is how it works. Pistols, SMGs, always 1,000. Assault rifles, 2,000. And shotguns and snipers are always going to be 3,000. So, okay, that's worth knowing. But at the moment, I think since we're mostly dealing with the base weapons that are not very good, it's probably not worth making those upgrades right now. Weapon bench, we can choose to select our weapons here like we've seen in other places. So that's simple, straightforward. We've seen enough of that already, but let's take a second here to see what the Robodog is all about. It looks like a Fenris mech from Mass Effect 2, which we fought on many occasions, but never had one as a pet. Can we... Oh, we can examine it. Good dog. Oh, he's looking around. Now, is it a good boy, good girl? I mean, like, I want to say, oh, who's a good boy, but at the same time, like, who's a good mech? You're a good mech. I guess we can still say good dog. That works. Alright, and here is that Kodiak. Let's see if we can take a second here to talk to James, who appears to be a little bit preoccupied with doing some pull-ups, but maybe he can still hold a conversation while doing that.
Hey, Shepard. How'd it go with the council?
Same as usual. Non-committal. Unhelpful.
Bet they still wanted you to help them out, no?
You're not wrong.
Yeah. We're gonna rescue a Turian Primarch from Palaven.
Sounds like fun. Never been to the Turian homeworld. You down here for a reason?
Just coming by to say hi.
Just came down to talk.
Great. Not sure what there is to talk about. You already know my service record.
I don't, actually. I didn't have access to personnel records when we met.
Right. Forgot about that.
Yeah, you know, we were kind of arrested, sort of.
Think you can dance and talk at the same time?
Dance, you say? Something tells me we're not talking about a waltz here. But I'm game.
I think I can handle it.
Okay, loco. Let's dance.
Don't push your luck, Vega. With age comes wisdom. And rank.
Ha! You sound like my old CO.
Oh, yeah? And who was that?
Captain Tony. He was a hard-ass son of a bitch, but a good leader.
We take a cheap shot at him? Nah.
Was?
Died. With most of my squad. Protecting a civilian colony from a collector attack.
And the colony?
It was either them, or the intel we had on the collectors. Intel we could have used to destroy him. I chose the intel.
Sorry. That's a tough call.
And make a choice.
We didn't really need the intel in the end. Because you were out saving the galaxy by taking down the entire collector homeworld.
Oh, sorry. I guess. Kind of, sort of, except not really.
You didn't know. You can't blame yourself, Vega.
Who says I'm blaming myself?
Not taking the cheap shots.
Just a guess.
We're not really looking to beat him up.
Shrink too?
Nope.
Just throw some punches here and there.
That stunt back on Mars was reckless. You're lucky to be alive.
It's true.
So?
So? Maybe you don't care if you live or die.
Or maybe... I'm just willing to do whatever the fuck it takes to end this goddamn war!
Chill, dude. Also...
Maybe you are. But if
Get
you're
flipped,
half as
bro.
good as I think you are, we need you alive.
Thanks for the pep talk.
Anytime.
Hey, thanks for the dance, loco.
And we can tell him to stick with Loco as our nickname, which of course means crazy in Spanish, or Commander. Say, let's keep this a little more professional, but nah, you know, it's fine.
Loco, huh?
I can think of worse things to call you.
Long as you remember who's in charge. You can call me whatever you want.
Oh, I won't forget.
Alright. So there we have actually unlocked a new ability in the medbay. So, in Mass Effect 3, unlike Mass Effect 2, where you got bonus powers, but you only got access to them unlocked by completing characters' loyalty missions, in Mass Effect 3, it's a little bit different. There are various conversations, or in this case, dances, if you want to use James' language, that will trigger getting the character's bonus powers. And in some cases, one character might be able to give you several bonus powers, but we just got access to Fortification, which is the defensive ability that James has, the one that gives him an extra layer of shields, basically, that gives him a percentage damage reduction, which is pretty nice, and then you can purge those to give you melee damage. Not as interested in that stuff, but the damage reduction could be very helpful, as we were starting to see in even early missions like Mars. We were taking damage and losing HP very fast. So, and of course, if we go down, it's game over. So that might even be an ability we might opt to use, because we are pretty much all offense here outside of fitness, and we haven't spent any points in fitness yet for increasing our HP, so it might not be the worst idea to get something like a fortification on. It does give us a power recharge speed penalty, so that is certainly pretty steep downside, but if we have low weights for our weapons, then maybe we can still make up for that. Let's see, we also have the model Quarian ship, which is something that we had in Mass Effect 2. As I was saying, the ships will get spread out within our Normandy here, and depending on how many you got in Mass Effect 2, there might be several of them, there might just be one or two. But I think that might be all for us here, downstairs. And so here is the bottom floor, the Shuttle Bay. And so I suppose let's head back to CIC. This is in many ways the hub area, because most importantly, it gives us access to the galaxy map.